Welcome everybody to another video on financial analysis, and in this video we are going to be looking at a company called BritishVolt. Now, BritishVolt, hopefully you have all heard of them. If you haven't, then these guys have been in the news a lot. We're recording this beginning of November 2022. They are a UK startup manufacturer of lithium-ion batteries for the automotive industry, currently planning to start production at a gigafactory in northeast England, and the plan is for 2025, and they're talking about sort of something like 3 or 4 billion pounds worth of factory that they're going to develop. So the UK is planning to end the sale of the petrol engines and diesel engines by 2030. So we're all going to be around electric cars. These guys have thought, well, you're going to have electric cars, going to need a lot of batteries. We might as well set up a facility and we'll jump on that bandwagon, so to speak. So how are they performing? So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at their financial performance, because they've recently been in the news saying we think we're about to go bust. And what I want to do is to try and show you where you can find information such as that. It's not quite as easy as it sounds. Now, do remember that this is really here for educational purposes. So we're here to try and teach the language of business finance. Most of these videos are at a request. This particular one isn't requested, but I thought you might find it interesting as our viewers. Please do remember to like, share and subscribe. So if you are already a subscriber, welcome back. And if you're not a subscriber, then welcome. Please do hit the subscribe button. And do also please feel free to give me any comments. So if you like what you see, if you don't like what you see, if you think I've got it wrong, and I do get things wrong, I'm happy to admit my mistakes. We're all fallible, we're all human. If I do get it wrong, then please do give me your thoughts in the comment section. Please remember though, it doesn't cost anything to be kind and to be polite. So without further ado, let's see if we can find out what is going on with this company. So here we are at the BritishVolt website, and you'll notice on the website we have a little button that says investors. Now, most companies, if they are listed, they will have this investors, and if you click on that, you'll find that actually these guys do not have any investor. Well, they do have investors, but they're not a public company. So we welcome discussions, they say, with institutional and corporate investors looking to make key long-term, but we're not a listed company. So you and I cannot buy shares in this company, but if you are running a private equity company, a hedge fund, a angel investor, a VC, for example, then you can give these guys a call. I'm not 100% convinced that I'm going to be investing in them. So there's nothing really there. However, because this is a UK company, all companies in the UK have to file their accounts, and they file them at Companies House. So we can very easily find them. Here's Companies House. And if you want to find information on a company, you just click find company information. We're going to click on start now. We're going to look for BritishVolt. So here we go, BritishVolt. And here we find BritishVolt. So we've got a number of different companies. We see one powered by BritishVolt. Then we've got properties, services and utilities. Now, they're all 23 Berkeley Square. Which means that either that's the head office or it's a sort of holding a place, but one of these will probably be the consolidator. So I'm going to guess that it's powered by BritishVolt, and we can confirm that a little bit later on. So here's their head office at Berkeley Square. We can have a look at the people. So who are the actual officers? And what we find is that there's quite a lot of people in there. Okay, so there's quite a lot of directors who are who've all been seen to be joining and resigning. So let's have a look at the filing history. And so quite interesting here, what we've got is things like so we've got the termination of Ordal Najari, a termination of Tom Cowling, appointment of Steve Hornbuckle, etc. So some interesting stuff going on there. And if you want to just look at the people, you can click on the button and it filters out just the who's been appointed and who's resigning. I'm going to look at the accounts though. So here are the accounts. Let's get rid of the officers. And what we see is current accounting period shortened, full accounts. So here are the full accounts up to the 31st of January 2021. Now, this is dated, today is the 2nd of November 2022, and therefore their 2022 accounts won't come out until 2023. So let's have a look at these 2022. So first of all, what I think is quite interesting here, we get a little bit of information about the company. So we got the directors here. Now, those are a lot of directors. And what I thought was quite interesting is that you can see further on in the accounts, okay, and I'll just whiz through to it right now, because I don't know if every company has to state this, but it does say the average number of employees, the number of directors in the company, the average number is 3. Okay, so you've got a long list of directors there, yet it only says that they've got 3 directors, which means that there's been quite a high turnover of directors in the year. So, for example, this chap is resigned, for example. We've got Rolton and Pricer in there. We'll talk about them a little bit later, why I'm interested in them. Who else have we got? Let's just have a look at our officers. So Tom Cowling, he's gone. So Cowling, wherever he is, there's Tom Cowling, so we can get rid of him, etc., etc. So you can kind of, termination of Peter Henry Morgan. So Peter Henry Morgan, he's gone as well, etc. So there's a big old kind of turnover and termination of Jolyon Price, which is quite interesting. So this chap here has gone as well. I'll tell you why I'm quite interested in those two. And we got appointment of Tom Cowling. So I mean, if you look at sort of Tom Cowling, he's appointed in April, and then he's out the door, really not that much later. So any company that's just got a high turnover of directors, I'm just like, well, why would that be? So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 directors, and they say they've only got 3. So I just there's a few alarm bells going on at the moment. You'll also notice that this is for the period 31st of December 2019 to the 31st of January 2021. So they've kind of extended their accounting period, and so they kind of and that's absolutely fine. Companies often do that just to change their accounting period. Okay, so this is the kind of review of the business, and you can read that if you want to, but it's basically say they want to build this giga plant. There it is. We want to build this giga plant, and that's our aim. So lots of kind of resigning, and here's all the directors who've resigned and sort of been appointed, etc., etc., and just quite a lot of turnover going on there. Going concern, well, we'll talk about this going concern and the principal risks, and then we've got the director's responsibilities. Then we've got the auditors. Interestingly, it's actually an audit opinion. They didn't have to do that, but they did have the Armstrong's Accountancy Limited, Mohammed Shabi, signed that off. So here is their P&L account. So there's no revenue at all. All they're doing is incurring administrative costs. Okay, so basically 9 million quid. So not even a sales, no cost of sales, nothing like that. They just spent 9 million pounds in a year, and I don't know what they spend that 9 million pounds on. Okay, so relatively straightforward. Looking at the balance sheet, they've bought, so these are assets under construction, so 475 million pounds. So this is kind of the sort of building, and maybe this is the sort of start of that gigafactory. They've got trade and other receivables. Interesting, I'm not sure how they end up with trade and other receivables, because they haven't done any trading, so we'd have to look at note 8 to tell us a little bit about that. Trade and other payables, 3.2 million. So they spent, remember, 9 million quid, and of that 9 million quid they haven't spent 3 million pounds. So that's kind of like a third of the bills haven't been paid yet. Net assets, they're positive in terms of their net assets, but only just positive. Basically all the money they've raised, the 9 million quid they've raised, they've spent. Okay, that's what the balance sheet's really telling us. Here's their share capital. So issue of share capital, and then basically they've lost it in terms of their losses, and that means that they're going to have to go back and raise some more money. Here's their cash flows. So not only have they spent 9 million, a negative 8 million cash flow going out the door. There's the purchase of that asset under construction that we saw earlier. And then we see that the directors have invested something and they have done this big share issue. So remember, you and I can't invest in these, but these guys are still at pre-IPO, pre-flotation or pre-sale stage, and they'll be going to venture capitalists and pitching their ideas and raising money. And they talk about Series A, Series B, Series D, etc., etc. So they get the 9 million quid in, then they spend it. That's basically what it comes down to. So some interesting numbers coming down here. So we're just sort of digging through the notes to the accounts. And I just want to highlight one or two things that kind of stand out to me. So first of all, I always think this is interesting. So you get the kind of employees and directors. So directors remuneration. So you remember we got sort of basically 3 directors. One, the most highly paid director is taking 200,000. And the directors in total are taking 376. So one of them's taking 200 and the other 2 are taking about 170, 180 each, which is about 90,000, which, not an excessive amount, depending on what, how many other pies they've got their fingers in, for example. But, that whole directors thing, there's been lots of turnover. So that, that's lost in the kind of, I guess, in some of those figures. The other thing I thought was quite interesting, so we got our assets under construction, so they're just kind of something which is being built, and that's the cost of the building, not what it's necessarily worth. Here are their investments. So these are the other 3 companies you remember we looked at, we saw in Companies House, and they're just saying, look, we own all of these other companies as well. Interesting enough, registered office is up in Blythe, so this is where they want to build that gigafactory. Obviously the head office the head office as with Companies House is Berkeley Square, but their registered office, so maybe there's a little bit of a difference, but those are basically the same companies, BV being BritishVolt. Trade and other receivables. Okay, so suddenly we're starting to find out, so they're owed 2 million. Why are they owed 2 million? And we noticed that first of all, all that share capital, so they've raised some share capital, they haven't been paid it. They haven't been paid it all. There's still 500,000, sorry, still outstanding. Payments on account, I'm guessing, is directors who kind of have put money in, and they've paid out to various suppliers and haven't received the good or service, and then they reckon they're getting a VAT refund. So these guys will be registered for VAT, so they can reclaim the VAT on some of that building and construction. And building and construction VAT is heinously complicated, but this will be VAT on expenses they've incurred, which they can then reclaim. So they're owed some VAT. They got some cash in the bank. That's always good, but if you're spending £9 million a year or £8 million a year in cash, that money is going to last you about a month, basically. Trade and other payables, current. Okay, so this makes me very, very nervous. How are they going to be able to pay 2.2 million pounds of trade creditors if they've only got 800,000 quid in the bank? So they're going to need to get that refund from the HMRC, and they're going to need to collect that share capital in from the subscribers. And you'll notice that there's a little bit of current accounts from directors. So this is directors who lent money to the business to try and keep it alive. So there's a little bit here about the directors, and so the individual directors and how much they've kind of they put in and taken off, etc., and written off. And I thought this is quite interesting. So the related party disclosures, so Old Price and Rolton, who are directors, is also a director, and so Rolton gets paid 1.2 million and Price gets paid 1.2 million. Now this, if I'm an investor, this is like, this is alarm bells. This is like, hold on a sec, I'm going to put X thousand or X million into this company, which is just going to then pay one of the directors, Ridge and Partners, for their services. Okay, now I'm sure that those are valuable services to the company, but is it really done at arm's length? They've disclosed it, but I would want to see, full visibility. And for me as an investor, this would be I want a seat on, if I'm going to put my money in this company, I want a seat on the board so that we can prevent this kind of this conflict of interest going on. So this to me is, it's disclosed, it's all above board. I'm not suggesting there's any impropriety going on. I'm just saying that from my perspective, we need to be really, really careful. If you are investing in unlisted companies, well, listed companies as well, but unlisted companies will have less of a structure in terms of their corporate governance, and I've come across people who've suffered from it. That the project they're investing in may be very, very good, but they invest money in the company, and then the company suddenly racks up massive fees to third parties who actually happen to have be related third parties, and suddenly you can find all of your money go into this company and out the door to somebody else rather than being invested in the project. And the project may actually deliver the returns it promised, but the money has all gone in fees to these consultancy companies. So anything that looks like that, really, really nervous. Ultimate controlling party is Mr. Najari. Don't forget, remember, Najari has now resigned. So it looks to me like he's sort of sold his shares to somebody else, and somebody else has taken on that. And then after the end of the period, the company has purchased a factory site, in Blythe. There it is, £4 million, and has raised 555 million pounds as part of Series A and Series B funding. So if we hear today, they had 800,000 in the bank, they've raised 55 million pounds, Series A, Series B. They've obviously found this factory. They want to build the factory they're talking about. It's going to cost them billions. They don't have billions, they've only got 55 million, and it sounds to me like near November the 2nd they've spent all of that money, which means that they're now sort of scrabbling around and trying to find somebody who will prop up this company. So there you go. There's a whistle stop tour through these guys, and I thought it's quite interesting just to be able to sort of dig around on Companies House and show you what information is actually available for companies on Companies House. How you can find out, you can access their accounts, you can access their kind of history, you can find out who's actually running the business, who are the directors. You can find out, for example, so we could look at Steve Hornbuckle, and we can also find out he's only the director of BritishVolt, so he doesn't have his finger in lots of other pies and being distracted by that, for example. And we've got Peter Rolton, who, if you remember, he was the one of the guys who was he's got 14 appointments, so he's got so BV, and then lots of BritishVolt there, Rolton Energy, Future Gen, Rolton Holdings, etc., etc. So he's kind of got lots and lots of companies, and I'm always a little bit nervous about this third party dealing with the companies dealing with the directors, especially if there are third party shareholders involved. So there you go. There is my take on BritishVolt for what it's worth. Would I be an investor if they came to me now? No, I would not. I think that there are a lot of hedgeways. I mean, I think it's a fantastic idea to try and build, a gigafactory, and you can produce all these batteries. My understanding is, as of today, they have no customers. Nobody on board saying we'll definitely buy from you. And in a global environment like this, they're going to really struggle in terms of labor costs competing with overseas, Asia, China, etc., etc. So I think it's a very bold move, but I'm not sure that I'd be interested to see the business plan that sits behind it. But maybe you are working for BritishVolt, maybe you're an investor in BritishVolt, maybe you have some inside knowledge, obviously not illegal, but if you'd like to share your views, tell us why you think BritishVolt would make a great investment, or why this is a great opportunity, then please do use the comments section, but please obviously remember to be polite in all of your comments. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found that useful. Do have a look on Companies House. Anytime you're looking for a company, if it's unlisted here in the UK, you can get the information you require on Companies House. It's a great source of information. So I hope you enjoyed that video and found it useful and informative. Now, if you want to know more about what I do, then you can visit Talk Financials and find out about the training workshops and the clients that I work with. And the QR code is on your screen right now. If you are interested in being able to do this yourself, to do some financial analysis, there's a couple of resources. There is an online workshop. It's available on my website, or you can click on the QR code and it'll take you straight through to this online workshop where you can learn to read and understand and interpret financial information yourself. Alternatively, there is a book available at all good bookstops, particularly a very big online one, and the QR code once again will take you through to the opportunity to buy the book, and there is also a Kindle edition. Otherwise, that's everything from me. Please, please, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. More subscribers means that you're going to get notification about new videos coming up, and also the opportunity to ask questions. And do recommend any videos, any companies that you'd like me to analyze for you. I think we've got a couple of suggested next videos coming up, so please do take the opportunity, have a look at the other videos, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you on the next video.